Welcome to the Pirate Broadcast, where we interview interesting people doing interesting things, where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. I sure hope you're having a wonderful day, because I know I am. And we have another amazing pirate on board, and we're going to be sharing interesting things and also engage in the conversation, drop some comments, make some notes. If you're off on for the holiday, the long weekend, 4th of July, happy birthday, America, and hope you had a safe and happy weekend. And good day. How are you doing, my friend, Lynn?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be on your show. This is my first time, and the rain has ceased in the east. I'm in finally, and the heat. So it's a glorious day.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. You know, we were introduced through Justin Breen, who is also a pirate, and amazing individual. So thank you, Justin. If you catch this episode, love to catch up with you soon again. Also, I know that you have been in the business of, resiliency, retention, consulting, and things like that. And we were talking before the show a lot about, how we get through things. And I want to make sure that we touch base on that. But first, you have a background in, and I won't say HR, but you've been employee retention, I guess, is a better way of putting it. Is that the focus of your adventures in the last few years?
We were talking about the last 30, really, Russ. So yeah, okay. It's the last. I really started focusing on client retention, and there's a very strong correlation between client and employee retention. And right now, more on employee, because that's where the angst is, and that's where the pain via COVID and everything else is that if you don't have the employees, have the talent, the skills to be able to handle the next disruption or the next volatile moment or uncertain moment, your business is not going to thrive. And I really want our clients to really thrive, not just survive. Survive is sort of like eking through. Now I want them to come, blazing through as best they can. And there's many elements that are necessary for that. But it's and just a little bit. I'm a tax attorney by training. I started with Arthur Anderson years ago, and I left there, went to Bank of Boston as a private banker, and then a change agent. And I share that just because I pivoted quite a number of times. And people say, well, how did you get from being a tax attorney to here? And that's a sort of another story on some level. But part of it is I was very fortunate. There were three daughters, and we grew up with a father who really loved his work. And so the mindsets are really important. I found work was fun. And for me, until I found something that was fun, I kept changing. Now I look back and I say, was it the best? I think I would have wound up where I am now, because fundamentally I work with companies and want to work with people who really care about people. If you care about your employees and really genuinely care and your clients, you're set, because if you really care about your employees, they'll do anything to take care of your clients. I have a client of mine who's an insurance agency, and he has literally piles of resumes of people who want to work with him, because he only wants A employees. He wants A+ employees, A+, because he says, I want the best. And it's not an option for a top client, which is the top 20% that generate 80% of the revenue, to leave. It's just not. So he runs a business mindset. We don't lose at Russ clients. And he's lost maybe 3 over 30 years, and those were through mergers or things out of his control. So it's a different mindset. He's like, there's an abundance mindset. You have to take risks. People are so risk adverse, especially with COVID. And yes, it can be scary, and it's uncertain times. But, each of us on a given day only uses 2% of our brain. And on a day we're really pumping the ions, 5%. Man of the century, Einstein, 12%. So we all have such untapped resources inside of us, and, massively. And, I don't want people going to their grave with the best songs or melodies unsung. There's somebody I'm quoting there,
Right.
unsung. And, I think what happened with me is people did give me feedback, at Arthur Anderson, and said, you're a little more extroverted and talk a little bit more than we do. And this, and actually, I didn't take it negatively. They were sort of saying it as like, you're just different, not, I didn't belong. But I heard that, and it's like, okay. And by giving me honest feedback, and I'm a big believer in really honest feedback, I was able to see some of my blind spots. And we all have blind spots. The gentleman I just told you about with a really very successful insurance agency, he called me and he said, you're coming next week. This is many years ago. And he said, my office manager is being verbally abusive. So cutting to the chase, after I interviewed everybody in the agency, he was the one who's being verbally abusive. And he did not know yelling was not motivating. And you'd say, I'll call him Harry. I'll say, Harry, I want to say, you had a clue. You had a glimmer. You had a clue. No. He said, when people yelled at me when I was young, it motivated me. And here's a man who's really brilliant. And it's a blind spot. We all have them. And
we all have them.
We all have. And then we all, I grew up outside New York City. And I'd say my older sister and my father were quicker, spoke faster than I did. My mother, my younger sister, were slower. So I think I'm average. Well, I'm not average. And I get out in the world, especially when I'm speaking, there's a lot of speaking engagements. I go down south. I had this lovely man to say, ma'am, I'm sure you have something really important to say, but you're speaking way too fast for me to follow. And I could say, oh, that's his problem. But how it lands over there, that if I want to be a good communicator, I've got to take responsibility for it. So if it's like, that's not my intention, it's like, well, if it keeps landing and they're not getting it and they can't, because if they speak at a slower pace, I need to accommodate that, as opposed to they need to change. And I hear a lot of saying, well, that wasn't my intention. It's like, well, if that's how it landed, maybe changing your intention and doing things differently. Let's brainstorm. And I also love people to come up with multiple options. And what I find, Russ, is that people come up with one solution. And my friend Scott Jones, who did invent voicemail, he comes up every day he looks at what is his biggest personal or professional problem, and he comes up with at least 20 solutions. And I remember once saying, why 20? He said, well, the first 3, 4, 5, everybody thinks so. After that, there's some good ones. But once you get around 11, 12, 14, 15, you really get good. And that's where he gets his ideas for patents. He has probably 20 patents. And he came up with voicemail, a year and a half before anybody else started it, because they were betting Judge Green's decision on antitrust would go the way it did. And he parlayed 20,000 into $250 million in 4 years. Now, that was astounding then, and it's exciting because he does uncomfortable things. We were talking a little bit about people staying in their comfort zones, and someone said your comfort zone is like a lead-lined coffin, and unless you do new things and you're willing to be uncomfortable, because that's how we grow, you're probably not going to come up with great new ideas. We're just, we have what's called in our brain neuronal pathways. So, and the deepest one is our name. So we're in a restaurant and all these names are called, we don't even hear it. Our name's called, we hear it. And so we have also a reticular activating system in the back that filters out information we don't think is important. And we all have confirmation bias, which is a huge factor in a lot of areas. So, we know lots of things, and we're missing data all the time, opportunities. And I really see COVID as a opportunity for people to really challenge themselves to find the hidden gifts. And it's not easy. This is not an easy time, and people are burnt out. And when people are burnt out, they can most work like 4 hours a day productively. You just can't push. And employees do have sort of the upper hand in most situations now. And you want to keep talent because there's a shortage of talent in a lot of industries. But be flexible, maybe down to the individual level, depending on the size of your company. What each person needs is different, and it's fluid. What they need this month, after this month, reconvene with everybody. What's working, what's not working. There's a client of mine who's gone to open a restaurant, working with a restaurant in the morning because they're closed. So they meet there 3 days a week. So he doesn't have the overhead. They're able to meet. It's near where the other office was. If people can't, for some reason, then they come in via Zoom, but he really doesn't want people on Zoom. He wants people there. But you have to give people a reason to come into the office or come together. If they're just coming, they come to collaborate, come to brainstorm, come to bounce an idea off people, come to share perceptions of what's happening in the industry, and come to share what you've done that's overcome the mental stress, because people are willing to talk about mental health, the mental stress of COVID, and what possibly is the future, because the future's unknown. I mean, nobody knows what 3 months, 6 months from now where we'll be. So you might as well make it up. It's like make up your own future. So
let's make it up.
Yeah,
I want to go back to the blind spots, because I think that's a big part of our change, evolution. And one of the things that, like I mentioned before we started, a lot of what I've been thinking about is how do we move outside our comfort zone? Because for myself, a lot of times my most tremendous growth has been as a result of tragic circumstances or life-changing events or things like that toss us kind of outside our comfort zone. And so I'm thinking about what does it take to move ourselves outside the comfort zone and express and extend our gifts to the world and share something that we may not necessarily be comfortable with. How can we practice that on a daily basis and continue to grow and expand and remove our blind spots?
So when I work with clients, I suggest that everybody has to do at least 2 things uncomfortable every day. And it's just part of who you are. Because by doing things uncomfortable, and we all do, I mean, anytime you look at my daughter, I've got a 20-year-old daughter, and I remember when she was learning to walk, like we all did, she fell in her diaper a couple hundred, 1,000 times. But what do they all do? They get up.
They get up.
And when I'm presenting, I'm always looking, is like, did somebody maybe try this 3 times and said, I'm not a walker, I'm a crawler. Okay, I tried this 3 times. Because we do that with technology. Oh, I tried, I'm not good at this. So we all have the ability to do things uncomfortable because we did that as a child. Oh, and they don't cry. When they fall, they get up again. They get up again. They get up again. So there's this part, I want to invite that part of all of us that says, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. You can find your way through. Nobody knows what it looks like. Everyone's in the same boat. So by forcing yourself to, Tom Peters, I remember him speaking years ago, and he said, if you go to work the same way every day, you eat with the same people, and I know this is different now, but it's a little dated, and that you go home the same way, and the same weekend you go out with the same people, to the same stores, the same movies. He says, where the heck are you supposed to get new ideas? I mean, it's really, so he says, when I go to the airport, I pick up magazines I know nothing about. What most of you do is pick up magazines you know something about that just reinforces your thoughts, your ideas. So be uncomfortable, talk to neighbors, talk to people that you don't know, or go, there's so much virtual, take a course on Coursera, do something really uncomfortable. It's okay, you'll get comfortable. Our nervous system, when we do something uncomfortable, we have an amygdala hijack. It sends adrenaline because it checks your memory and it says, you've never done this before? My job is to keep you alive. I don't know if this is fatal. So fight or flight. And
fight or flight,
yeah. And if you could wait 6 seconds, it said that freedom, human freedom or human will, is between when you have a thought and the mouth opens. So when I'm having a thought that I don't want to come out because it's not kind and it's not appropriate or it's not the best thing to do, I will breathe oxygen because that burns off the adrenaline, and I'll bite the inside of my cheeks, leave my mouth closed. I'll do what's necessary. And I grew up at least with a critical father, and who was amazing too, amazing dad. But he was critical of me in many ways, and so I can say anything to anybody and make it sound nice, and I can because I had a lot of angst, and I take people up on that. You can do it. If you can really put yourself in somebody else's shoes, how would you want that information to be given to you?
A little empathy, huh?
Empathy, compassion. Nobody wakes up and decides to be a jerk today. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to be a jerk. I want to cut people off on the road. I want to piss the people off that I work with. I just want to wreak havoc. Maybe there's some real small, and most people are doing the best they can do in the given day. But around finding new ideas and being uncomfortable, there's a client of mine out in California that hired a new CEO, and they said the day they were comfortable, they were going to fire him. So because they want to be on the leading edge. Being on the leading edge, and we all are in a way now, because we don't know where we're going, is uncomfortable. Make it your new norm. Enjoy it. And as you said, Russ, in the moments of hardship, of tragedy, of difficulties, there's always a gift in there. It's well hidden.
Yeah.
But you dig deep enough inside you, willing to face some of your own maybe demons inside, or some of your own angst or anxieties, or
we're always learning or growing.
And that's right? Always learning and growing. Every day we learn and grow. And I think it's how I got to where I am today. I've done a lot of personal growth work and have dug deeper inside me than I ever thought I would. And I've turned a lot of more than lemons, I would say, into
lemonade.
Better than lemonade, because I wanted it better. I want every day for me to be the best human being I can be. And by doing what I did yesterday, today, I'm losing ground, because there's people who are accelerating their growth. You want people to come back and stay, help them to develop. Everyone wants to have a job 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Develop, get additional skills. Someone wants to take a sabbatical and go over to England or South Africa or somewhere and study for 6 months. Let them. If they're a valuable employee, why not? Because they're not going to. Who's ever going to develop their employee? The future's unknown. Whoever has the employees who can learn the quickest amid disruption, constantly changing, a VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous situations, and they can experiment, make something, create an idea, test it. If it works, great. Even if it works, pivot to something else. It's pivot, pivot, pivot.
Pivot. I love this. Speaking of South Africa, we got Elise in from South Africa. Good morning, Russ and Lynn. Got a few people in the room here, Lynn.
Yes.
Wendy's in the room. Good morning, Pirate Nation, and welcome, Lynn. The newest pirate out on the ship has the buy of the first round, right? Admiral? Yes. Has to buy the first. Kathy Spooner's in the good morning, pirates. Awesome. Wendy says resiliency is a gift we each possess, and we have to open the box to use it.
Well, I like that.
Adapting to the audience. Bonus gift. Beautiful. Absolutely.
Beautifully said, Wendy. It is.
Yeah. Amy Martin says, good morning. And she also says, you have to fail to grow. That's how we gain experience. True story. True story. And business is that way, much like, and I'm not sure how you imagined you wanted to work as a tax accountant, but your personality is
tax attorney, but that's okay.
Tax attorney. Yeah. And it's, you made a decision to do that. And then because you didn't necessarily fit entirely into that mold, you evolved, you pushed through, you grew and you changed and now you're a completely different person than you were then. Right. And all that years of experience, I call it the fabric of life, a page in the book of life. And we have this experience that we accumulate, hopefully, as a lifelong learner, because you don't want to do the same thing every day, because I think we underestimate how much we can accomplish in a year. We overestimate how much we can accomplish in a day, but we fail to really see how much we can accomplish in a longer period of time. So learning every single day, pushing the boundaries, experiencing new gifts. new ideas, new horizons, new conversations. And that's why I love the Pirate broadcast is, just having these conversations expand our ideas and our thoughts and our ability to see different things. So I just really appreciate you being here, Lynn, and sharing this information. And I just, it's a gift to the world. And we're in a place right now where humanity can capture these ideas and these thoughts and share them out on a regular basis. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So what are you seeing right now as we're working through this pandemic and evolution of working from home versus the businesses that are starting to open back up and think about what they're going to do in the future? Are you seeing more businesses say, we need to get you back in the office immediately, or some businesses have actually thrived with remote workers? And so what's your thoughts on the landscape of works and employment today?
I think work and home have merged for those that have been working remotely, and I don't think we ever can go back, because some people have really enjoyed working from home and some can be more productive. I think to have a day or two in the office, if that's needed for them to be able to push to the next level, share their ideas, talk through things with people, especially different departments, and build a social capital that's really gone. And the social capital is like, who do you know in the organization? How well do you know them? So when you hit some place or you want to bounce an idea off, you can just go to them. And that's declined because we only have really kept in contact with the group, our small group, because you could not do it in all ways. What the best companies are doing, Russ, I think, is if anybody's saying everybody has to come back like now immediately, that's a little dictatorial, autocratic. Really more extreme humanism, egalitarian to some extent. Employees, I can tell you from interviewing thousands of clients, your frontline employees have probably 90% of the information you need to make really good decisions. But what I find is senior management doesn't ask them enough questions, doesn't probe underneath their initial response, because they don't have some of the experience that the management does, and then bring them into the dialogue, bring them to the table. Everybody has a seat at the table. And diversity, some people think it's really not necessary. It's like, you look at the most successful companies, they're very different. You want to talk culturally, racially, it's people have come from different places in the country, geographically, everywhere you get somebody who's different. And because we all have different perspectives, and the more perspectives you can get, the closer to you're seeing the greatest percentage of a situation. So if there's 100 people in your organization, there's 100 different perspectives. If it's important to hear from each of them, that's probably great. And then I be fluid. Ask, is this working? What's working? What's not working? And really listen. The more we can listen these days and not talk, and I know that's hard for a lot of extroverts, sometimes me too, but where some of the great ideas are coming up now are with the introverts. And people have said they've always had the ideas. We just have not given them the space or maybe permission or whatever to speak up. So, go around the room, make sure everybody gets, when I hold a meeting, everybody gets to talk. Everybody gets to say their piece without being interrupted. And, and if another thing is called the Fishbowl, which probably some people are familiar with. If everybody's agreeing except one person, that one person speaks, everybody else just listens. And if you could actually put your eyes down and look away from them to just really listen and hear what they're saying, there's probably a grain of truth. In feedback, I look for, if you want to take an illustration that was done for me, is if this tissue box is my feedback, whoops, there. And so someone throws me the tissue box, I can grab it and hit myself on the head and beat myself up with it. I could take it and hit it back to the person. I can go like this and it go flying by. The best thing is to look at it, feedback, interesting, and maybe I take a grain of truth and I toss the rest away. There's probably, unless if somebody's really nasty, and I don't think there's too many really out and out nasty people, there's probably a grain of truth if someone really cares about being in a relationship with you in work and wanting that to work, and they want to get feedback, you may do it privately, obviously, but really listen. I have wonderful relationships with, friends and family where we can listen and hear things we don't want to hear. But what the other person is saying is, I really care about you. I care about our relationship. I could BS you. I could just say, hey, everything's great. I could BS you and you could BS me, but you know what? We're not going to be connected. We're not going to be resilient. We're not building bonds that are going to last a long period of time and pull us all through to the next stage of the organization's growth.
Well, the real friends that you have in your world will actually call you out on your BS.
Hopefully, absolutely. Those are the best people. You may not like them. You don't have to like them.
Yeah. Love them and let them into your life, because
Absolutely.
sometimes you need to be called out when you're going the wrong direction.
Yeah. When the leader's going over the cliff, you need to say, excuse me, there's a cliff there.
Yeah.
You need to.
Watch out, that stove is hot.
That's right.
Stove is hot. And we don't want to get burned.
That's great.
I really love these conversations, Lynn, and I just want to make sure that people have an understanding that you do not have to stay where you are if you're not comfortable at the moment. Change is constant. Things are evolving in the world today. I see so many business owners with the help wanted sign, and it's almost as if, I don't know where these people are that are going to work. However, there's a lot of people that could work, and a lot of employers are looking for quality people. And I guess as employees and client retention, it takes quality employees to continue to serve and keep quality clients.
Absolutely.
And I think customer service is really high on the list. The way you treat people, the way you engage with people, and you ask them good questions and you listen to what they're saying. This is all components of, what I would consider a quality life. It doesn't matter if it's in the boardroom or in the back room or in the front office. It's all part of what we do. And that's why I promote kindness is cool and smiles are free so much, because you don't know what other people are going through. You don't know what their circumstance is. You don't know what their perspective is. So I just encourage everybody to think about how you want to feel and how you would like people to treat you, and work from a place of kindness and empathy. And it just, to me, it makes a lot of sense. So hopefully we can continue to do that.
Yeah.
Any parting words of wisdom, nuggets of knowledge that you would love to share with the pirate community today that encourage us this week and beyond?
I would say with COVID, hang in there. You're more resilient than you think. Take a lot of deep breaths, get out into nature, find ways to restore yourself. I do meditation. Some people love yoga. Do more of it. And, what you had said, Russ, everyone's having, be kind, because everyone's having a hard time. There's lots of hard times going. So as much as you can, you can say to somebody, I'm just really sorry to hear that. Not to blast them. And to the self, also just a word about the self-critic. We all have this critic in our mind, and to silence that critic as much as you can. There's great strategies I have for that. I've done well with mine. But make it like the best teacher who always knew you had the potential in you. And pushes you gently and firmly, and then really applauds you when you do it. It's like, yes, you did it. I knew you could do it. Excellent. So sometimes we have to be our own cheerleaders, but to just we will come through. We are, what Pfizer did, Moderna and J&J with the vaccine was impossible to do. You can get a vaccine, and the effectiveness is huge. It's high, more than I think any other vaccine's ever been created. And look what they did when they all came together and they're going through one goal. We can do amazing things. So reach out, engage, ask for help, please. We cannot do this alone. We cannot live life alone. Ask for help, and make it a great day. Be kind to others, and surprise some people with kindness, and they don't even know where it came from.
Surprise them.
Yeah.
So how do you like people to connect with you and reach out and make that connection?
Yeah, no, you can reach me. My email is Lynn Thomas, so L-Y, my name up there, Lynn Thomas, at Thomas Consulting. And at the end of consulting is wins, W-I-N-S, because a client gave me that. It says I always win with Thomas Consulting. So thomasconsultingwins.com is the email. Perfect. And phone 781-899-4210. And I'm also on LinkedIn. And I would welcome, feedback. If I wasn't clear in something, I'm welcome that. Questions. I'm willing to really talk to anybody, 10, 15 minutes, just to help people through difficult times, because we all can help each other, and we'll rise.
We all need it now and then.
Yeah, right. And Pixar is a great thing, which is they want to find the slice of genius in every person. And so I think if we start looking for that slice of genius in the people around us, as opposed to what they're not doing right or not right, we can really amaze ourselves, amaze the world, and do some really magnificent things to create a wonderful future for all of us. And I'm not saying that like, Pollyanna. She's like, we really can do it, guys.
Yes, I love that. Lynn, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing with the pirate community. And everyone, you have a gift, you have a message, you have an opportunity to share it, deliver it, and add value to the world. So as always, remember, like, comment, share this thing that we call the Pirate Broadcast, and because kindness is cool, smiles are free, and we want you to enjoy your day. Take care, Lynn.
You too, Russ. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about,